What's up, everyone? Welcome to my corner of the internet. I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and this is Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments, the leading global payments provider helping sellers keep more of their hard-earned money. What's up, everyone? I'm your host, Ryan Cramer. Welcome to another episode of Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments. Episode 103, Why Amazon FBA is Still the Best Way to Sell Online. I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and welcome to Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments. We transfer more than $150 million a day for e-commerce sellers just like you, and helping over 1 million customers now to process over $90 billion in cross-border payments. That's right. 90 billion with a B. That's a lot of money. To start saving money today, sign up for a free ping pong account through the link below. Again, that's going to be code CC podcast. Make sure you sign up today. It's free to do. You're going to save yourself some money. You can apply it to your bottom line and start growing your business today. Go ahead and check that out a little bit later. Make sure that you mention Ryan Cramer sent you. A big welcome to our audience today. Welcome to Facebook. Welcome for those who are watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Again, have you noticed it? It's Monday. It's a crazy day, a little bit later in the day, but things are starting to catch on already from the weekend. But if you are watching us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Twitter, welcome. We appreciate you tuning in, whether this is your first time or your 103rd. I appreciate you tuning in for a little bit of time today. Hopefully you get a lot of value out of this episode, which I'm super excited about today. But do me a favor, if you're watching us live, go ahead and share this with your audience, or go ahead and subscribe to us on social media, on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook. Again, following us is the best way to know when we go live. I'm doing anywhere from 2 to 5 lives a week to bring you the best content in the Amazon e-business industry. My audience my connections are fantastic people who have sold as many as decades on the internet. Otherwise, they are service providers bringing you the best value and content to help level up your business. That's why you tuned in today. That's why you want to stay till the end. You want to make sure you get every ounce of information from these people, because that's why we do it. That's why I'm passionate about it. And that's why you are here today. Do me a favor, go ahead and share that on social media to be notified of future episodes on Crossover Commerce as well. If you can't catch us live, no problem whatsoever. All of this lives on YouTube. And then we also will be releasing all of our season episodes on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever there's a podcast, you can find it there. Just search Crossover Commerce and subscribe there. Season 1, 30 episodes are already located on there. Season 2 will be released here shortly. We have a big wave coming out. So be sure to subscribe on podcasts, anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcast. Go ahead and do that and make Crossover Commerce part of your listen library as well. About our guest today, if it was just about me, that would be one heck of a podcast, but it's not. It's about the guests I bring on the show, and that's why it's so fascinating and fun to listen to every time. Our guest today has never been on the show, but we're excited to have him on as a first-time guest. Since 2012, Neil has been selling on Amazon using private label branded products from FBA. He has been building online businesses since 2007 after leaving his corporate career at IBM. And today, his team and himself help customers gain anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 more in their Amazon businesses through an eight-year, eight-figure sales, millions of units sold framework that allows limited PPC costs, organic and no rebate and no review or no coupon launches. Very fascinating. We can definitely dive into that today. If you have questions, again, you can submit those in. We'll make sure that we get those answered live here on Crossover Commerce. But his company is Voltage Digital, formerly TWA Digital, helping Amazon brand owners and those who want to become brand owners as well create successful brands done with them on Amazon, and even done for them with their Voltage Digital Media division that handles 100% done-for-you solutions around e-commerce and Amazon FBA. Voltage helps launch, operate, and acquires e-commerce brands and focuses on Amazon FBA alone. And they also own interest in multiple entities in e-commerce, SaaS, consulting, business coaching, consulting, and Amazon managed services as well. There's a lot to dive into there, but we're super excited to have on Neil Twa of Voltage Digital. Neil, welcome to Crossover Commerce. How are you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you today?
Oh man, it's great. It's a Monday. I can't complain. It just feels like it was Mother's Day weekend. So if you're dad of 4 girls, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Man, my mind's hanging in there today. So
Dude,
that's awesome.
you
So
nailed it. Yeah, you had a mouthful there to get started today, man. That's quite a bit going.
Hey, you're experienced. You're experienced all over the place in Amazon. That's why we brought you on, and that's why you reached out. But I'm excited. How was Mother's Day weekend for your wife?
It was great. You know, we kept it pretty low key where we were here, just because one of the kids wasn't feeling terribly great. So we're like, yeah, we better not drag that around to the moms. So we kind of postponed a little bit of the Mother's Day activities, I should say, until next weekend.
Gotcha.
So we had a low key fun time, watched some movies, had popcorn, just kind of played around and just took it low key. So it was good.
Yeah. That sounds great. But with 4 girls, it's kind of like chaotic, right? Is it always like
kind of
fighting
always is a little bit go all the time, because of where we are, obviously, in terms of our life, with 4 children, 12 and under. We keep very busy. My youngest is 8, as you mentioned, all girls, and we homeschool them too. So we keep a very busy lifestyle of family and friends. On the hilltop where we live in the acreage, we have about 40 acres. We also maintain about a 1,500 square foot garden we keep busy with. We just started planting this past weekend as well. And then my parents are on the hill. Her parents will be moving up to the 5 acres on the other side of our hill. And then on the next 7.5 acres, my aunt and uncle will be moving actually there very shortly. So we'll have about 64 acres between the families when we're all done at the moment.
Holy smokes. And this is in Missouri, correct?
It is, yeah. On the Ozarks in the mountains. Yep.
That's hopefully it's not like the show The Ozarks on Netflix.
No, I haven't heard that, but a lot of people recommended we should check that out. And I'm like, I don't know if that really represents the Ozarks. Maybe it does.
Yeah, lots of we'll skip over the semantics, but it's definitely like a drug ring and things like that. Definitely, I'm assuming not like what it is actually there.
Be possible. It could very well be possible. Yeah.
Well, and summertime is super popular there because of just outdoors. People can camp or just stay for the summer. Is that like? You guys are away from all that, right? It sounds like
we are, yeah. So you go one direction an hour, you hit the Branson area, which is fun. Love to go there. Silver Dollar City. It's a great little town with so much cool stuff to do down there. But you go the other direction, down 60, about an hour, and then you get into the country. Then you go another 3 miles past the 1,900 person town, and then you go another mile down a dirt road, and then you find us. Way out in the boondocks. So that's why I jokingly say I'll hold my internet connection as long as the chickens keep running on the wheel.
Exactly.
Keep everything online.
Well, you guys are technically in the Midwest, and this is the running joke I play with my company, and then everyone who watches the show or listens to the show is the Midwest. No one thinks about e-commerce or businesses in the Midwest. They think coast, either West Coast or East Coast, but here in the middle of the country.
Ever comes out of Missouri. How is it possible you guys could have technology out of Missouri? It's like, well, man, we're in the 21st century, and it's 2021, and it's digital world we're living in, right?
Exactly. And that's kind of the thing. We've had nomads on this show, and I mean nomads like people traveling the world, can work from anywhere. You have roots down in the Midwest. Yep. But what's kind of your background? I know we kind of ran through your rap sheet.
Oh yeah.
Have you always been in e-commerce, or you said IBM before you jumped in?
Well, let's summarize real quick through it so it's not boring to people. I can get to the value of what we're talking about instead of just myself. Sure. In simple 30-second terms, I have been online and since university days. Like, I'm not terribly old, but we aren't that far into the internet age, actually. Got my teeth cut on it during college, learned I had an aptitude for the business and the programming and the e-com side, but they didn't really have it. So I bounced out of college. I'm like, why am I spending money in college when they're not going to teach me about e-commerce? So I jumped in the corporate world where I could learn about it and get hands-on experience. At my 3rd year of college, I jumped out with less than like 30 hours in a business science degree and a computer science undergrad. And I was like, that's not really going to help me. So I started teaching myself programming and just pulled myself up by my bootstraps. The simple phrase for my life is it's who you know that gets you in. It's what you know that keeps you there. And so much of it's been relationship driven in business for me. And then learning applied knowledge and just continually adapting and changing. And so eventually I got pretty good at the knowledge management system side and project management, and had some very good successful projects under my belt. And that led me up into the corporate side of Sprint as an employee, and did very well on some projects there. Some of the first knowledge management internal projects the corporation ever launched. I got to be a part of that. There was like 5,000 people when I joined the PCS division when it launched. Which was the wireless. And there was like 80,000 when I left. There was about 6,000 customer reps and 25,000 when I left. So the company grew explosive in 5 years. And I got into IBM. I basically did really great on a project and a couple partners there. One of them took a chance on me. He said, you know what, you did so great on this. Let's get you to Armonk and interview. And I did. And they let me into IBM. So
there you go.
I spent almost 5 years in IBM, traveling the country. It was been not I've been moved, but I've been moved around. So I traveled all the time, 2-3 times a week. In and out of the country. I got to sit in some of the largest corporate boardrooms of the world and handled some amazing projects and got to meet some amazing, really great, super smart people. I had the honor of working on just technology so beyond my understanding that I barely tried to keep up with these guys at Armonk, where we got to play a little bit on the Watson computer and learned about artificial intelligence and human machine language and learning and technology and latent semantic search engines and all this stuff. That really had to do with how do you get something in front of somebody who wants it and get it there as fast as possible, or even predict what they want. And that really led me later into e-commerce. And we'll kind of talk about that because Amazon's search engine is a latent semantic search engine, and it's a knowledge engine. It wants to learn about customers and it wants to sell you something in 30 seconds or less. And when I saw that opportunity, I thought, dang, I can figure this out. It's technology, it's numbers. And that's when we started launching products on Amazon. We started Hail Mary stuff based on its numbers.
So you tell yourself like, hey, you started from the very beginning. I say beginning, like this is not, again, we talk about this as it's not 50 years ago. It's not like, this is not decades ago. This is last decade. This is like the last 10, 12 years or so that you kind of saw the opportunity and saw where it could
about 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had affiliate marketing background for a while. I was running a lot of paid gen. I got some companies, Series A funding, raised capital for businesses and acquisitions and stuff prior to that. Had a really fun life experience going bankrupt. Don't recommend it, but it's not the worst thing in the world that can happen to an entrepreneur. There are worse things like never getting back in the game. And so I kind of reinvented myself around affiliate marketing and product marketing, and then realized that I should be the product owner too, because I was doing great at getting the customer. And that's when Amazon stepped into the game about 2012. After I saw the way they had the engine, the products, the way you could determine the numbers, the competition and market opportunity, which was like a 2-lane highway when I started, and it's like a 7-lane highway now. I thought, man, this is where I want to be. This is going to be a fun playground. And I just dove in head first, spent years basically figuring out how the system worked, and met my business partner who was very good on the financial and operations side. And we kind of teamed up. And then we just went like crazy, man. We were launching products and brands. And because we were just learning the system that it wanted and having a dance with it, it's called the A9 engine. It's just this big filing system of technology, right, for products. And we just learned to dance with it. And by the time we got into around 2015 or so, we were doing very, very, very well on Amazon, and grabbed some attention of quite a few people. And they asked us to start, consulting and coaching, and what are you doing and how are you doing it this way? And it's crazy. And by the time we got into 2016, we were running events of about 500 to 1,000 people per event.
Which is a lot even nowadays.
It is. It was a big, fun run. We had some changes to that, and we just went back to the business for 3 or 4 years. And about 1.5 years ago, I got approached by an investment company that said, you got a lot of companies, you got a lot of people in your network. We want to start buying these. And I thought, oh, that's fascinating. And I said, I don't work 100 hours a week and just start all these companies so you can buy them. And the guy, I remember very succinctly saying, why don't you start your coaching program again? And with the intent of getting people to sell these companies. And I'm like, well, that's a really smart idea. I wish I'd thought of that on my own. Right. So we did. We started Voltage with the understanding that the purpose of the structure was to stay very limited to who we work with, very targeted on the approach, and in essence, replicate the CEO level role that an Amazon business requires. Because it is an Amazon business. People think it's a side hustle. And truly, if you treat it like a business, it will reward you like a business. If you treat it like a side hustle, it'll end up burning you. And most recently, I posted on my Facebook page about some people who just got burnt. I don't know if you saw that post or not, but
yeah, that was the thing. Like we got connected on Facebook recently, maybe today even. Like this is the thing, is like people are putting out so much thought leadership, and this is why I thought it was fascinating to go over this subject with you, is because a lot of people are like, maybe we should diversify more, maybe we should do off of Amazon. You're kind of taking the opposite approach and saying, hey, now let's not abandon the Amazon machine. There's just so much out there to be focused on. I want to say Amazon FBA is still the number one thing, and it's still going to continue to yield results for sellers. The barrier to entry has just gone up way more. There's a lot more barriers to overcome, but the people who are going to overcome those barriers, hey, those are going to be the people who are going to be, like you said, we'll make money and we'll be successful.
They will take the majority of the opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. And we play a very white hat game in this market. meaning that we are, not faking reviews, not in buyer groups, not in all this other nonsense. And one of the things I posted, just to be very clear for those who may not see it, was in relevance to Amazon closing a bunch of accounts, some very high level accounts, even companies doing 8-9 figures, they closed them down because they were part of black hat groups, buying groups, fake review accounts. And Amazon's system is just getting more and more mature in its analytical and forensic auditing of data. It is a data driven, as we talked about, right? So they're getting very good at tying those data points together, and they're starting to implement those in their current version of the system. And because of that, they're catching quite a few frauds. They're catching quite a few companies that, by all intents and purposes, thought they might avoid any repercussions of buyer groups and fake review networks. And at the end of the day, they didn't get away with it. But people want to blame Amazon. And it's funny. It's like a little story about the wolf and the sheep. You've ever heard this story about the wolf that goes out? There's 5 sheep in a pasture, and the wolf kills one of the sheep, tears it apart, and the other 4 look at him and say, "Did you see the teeth on that wolf?" And they're like, "Yeah." So they all tear their teeth out, right? And like, "Yeah, now we're not going to have that problem anymore." It's like, no, why? I mean, the wolf, the teeth, you're missing the point, right? Like, you just can't follow the sheep. And what they're telling you right now is, well, abandon Amazon. There's no hope. It's all terrible. They'll close your account down with no remorse. And the truth is, if you're jacking with the system, that will happen. I've lost $1 million account on Facebook ads because there was one word phrase they didn't like, which triggered the last compliance component, and they banned me and won't restore my account. Do I blame them because they didn't like the words I used? No, not really. It's ultimately my problem at the end of the day. So don't blame Amazon, the inanimate object of a company, if you're doing things that are not within the terms of service, even if they're management in terms of the way you've done it in the past. You probably want to change it really quickly, because the opportunity is still very much there.
In the article I think you're referring to, and I did see it pop up a couple places, was Amazon hunted down and found this big network of fake reviewers, fake seller accounts that were all people were buying, for lack of a better word, buying reviews through these review farms, essentially, that were all over the world. They were tied back to, they found like invoices, they found all this like WeChat history,
a lot of data from
different like high level sellers, which they didn't name who they were, I don't think, correct?
No, they didn't actually.
But that being said, they went and they leveled out everyone who they could tie back to their accounts, shut them down even as recently as this past weekend.
Correct.
And those people are no longer allowed to sell on Amazon, or banned for a very long time, or
very hard to get accounts back when you're completely banned. And in all transparency, I've had one account removed in the last 8 years of all the accounts we've started. We have, it was basically one of those data deals where not the account we own, but an account that was tied to a client account that had a connection, a data point to that account got closed down. And it was a temporary holding account that wasn't selling. And so it wasn't a great loss, but it did help us recognize 1 and 2 layers of additional data points that they have put into the system. That we now added into our training to ensure people don't get those mistakes made. But again, it wasn't a big loss for us, but it was a good learning lesson. And it did really show the power of Amazon's ability now to really track and engage in compliance measures. And again, does that mean there's no opportunity? Absolutely not. In fact, there's more opportunity now because new niches have opened up within those previous niches that these companies are bailing out of. The rumored number is closer to 200,000. It's not the biggest group that will be attracted. The buyers list of about 75,000 or so people that were in that group that tied back to some of those major companies. Of course, they get the publicity. It's the everyday mom and pop businesses that were doing the wholesale, retail, online arbitrage stuff that got blown away that don't really make the news. But there were a lot more of those who were not in compliance and simply not following Amazon's new rules. What does Amazon want? Like, let's talk about that, right? Because that's an important point to transverse to in this segue. It is that they want brands. They want actual business-driven brand affiliation that leads their platform away from eBay and away from Etsy and away from Walmart. They want to differentiate themselves as more brand-driven affinity. They don't want to be seen as the internet eBay of the world. They don't want to be seen as a garage sale. They want to take on Walmart, but they want to do it in more brand-driven. And in fact, they're building their brand-driven group a lot. They've moved a new VP into their seller performance, and they're really focused on those companies who are building good assets, building good brands, and they don't mess with us. They don't mess with those folks when you have that. When you have your brand registration, when you have your trademark, when you're an actual LLC, when you're selling like a real seller seriously, and you're not using fake review groups and messing with this, or even manipulating the launch process of your product in that first 90-day window, you're going to have plenty of success and plenty of opportunity. It requires patience. And as I refer to it, as it's true e-com, it's true business building, and it's just one marketplace that you can move to. So I do say that those who are just getting started with brand building, Amazon's a great place to test your products. It's also a great place to grow your products. Do we diversify from those? Absolutely. We move into other marketplaces too. Once you basically prove a brand and product on Amazon, you can take it just about anywhere. And prove it in other places. You can take it to Shopify. You know your avatar, you know your demographic, you know who's buying your products. Even just recently, they're now in beta for email marketing to your customers, which wasn't a thing you could do previously, which is a big deal. We can now email market to our customer lists, right? Get to a certain level of sales and Amazon does the marketing for you. I remember one time I was on the couch hanging out on the weekend and my buddy mails me, texts me and he's like, "Hey, I just saw your product on ESPN." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Like, I didn't put my product on ESPN." He's like, "Yeah, I just saw it come across the scroller." And sure enough, Amazon had picked up some marketing for one of our products and brought it out there, which is great. They will do that when you run by brands. And it's not something they won't do for any sellers. We have plenty of sellers that have launched their products and gotten significant push by Amazon because Amazon, again, wants to see those good brands develop, right? And here's a hint. If you're not selling more than 5 branded products in a brand, you're missing out on a lot of the technology that will push you forward in the system, from ranking to marketing to all kinds of other stuff. There's a little pro nugget for you guys there. If you go and look at the majority of sellers, in fact, Jungle Scout just did a survey recently. It was something like 76% of all sellers have 5 or less SKUs. So again, 76% of you out there who are selling on Amazon and listening to this, or if you're considering launching a business or brand into Amazon, you need to look forward to not the first product, but the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th product. At that point, Amazon sees you as a whole different kind of business. And they treat you very differently. And again, there's huge upside. So yeah, while everyone's going downstream, I may be the salmon going upstream a little bit against the wind, but they're still super, we've launched 60,000 products in our software since 2014 in FBA. Okay, we've seen all the product launches you can possibly imagine. And it's given us enough data to understand, as you mentioned when we first started talking a minute ago, about how to get a product launched with no reviews and no ranking manipulation and no fake account stuff and, even no PPC just to test the product. We have a process we do that by. And there's a post on my wall you guys could go check out as proof for Susan, one of our business builders. Just launch a product and it's already ranking organically. No marketing, no PPC, no fake reviews, no nothing. Just at this moment, Amazon's organically picking it up and moving it out. We have a number of case studies, one in particular in the toy niche where we did this. And within 2 weeks, we sold 2,000 units of our product. And then we ramped it up from there with marketing and PPC. So there are plenty of fun places to play. We estimate, based on all that data for launching and all the opportunities that are out there, the 600 million products or so. I think there is 580, 600 million at the time we're recording this roughly. There are about 12 million of those that we've identified that will take you to 6, 7, multi-7, 8 figures. 12 million is more product opportunity that you can data mine in your entire life. There's actually so much opportunity once you focus on it, into one result. So the final point to make here, to summarize, because I've been rambling on here for 8 minutes now, is the cash flow. Amazon is a good bi-weekly cash flow opportunity. It allows you to get involved with the subscribe and save and build up a continued business revenue off of that simple subscription style revenue. Once you get your product up and running and people need to order it every 3 months, 1 month, whatever type of product you're sending in the market, there's an opportunity to do that. And really, at the end of the day, revenues don't matter. That's vanity, right? Profits are sanity and cash flow is king. And that's one of the beauties we love of this model, because it allows you to build products in the way we do it that will be there for months and years to come. We have products that have been selling for 5+ years organically, every day, week, and month. When you do it the right way, it's a big opportunity and you just keep diversifying. And so, again, for those who don't get started or launching or even looking to build faster, I have a verifiable, proven case study, so I can say this out loud, of someone who did this strategy with us and in 9 months broke $5 million a month in sales. And that's verified, and you can go check that out on my case studies. He's a big,
that's what everyone wants to do.
Well, that's what everybody wants to do, but are you willing to put up the $1 million that he did to do it?
Right.
Because that's what it took, right? It was real business building, and he took it as such, and he treated it as such, and he even put team members on there, and they built up systems and processes, and they followed along with us, and we taught him how to be a CEO. At that point, he came to us. They were doing about $15,000 a month and spending about $25,000 a month to figure that out. When they broke $1 million a month in 3 months, they were pretty happy. Once they figured out how the system worked. And the honest fun of that case study is it started in 2015, and they're still running last check 60 million last year on FBA. So it's a 5-year business. And that's just one piece of a larger company that they expanded out to over 200 million a year in sales. Great case study, great guy. Just, most of my case studies are revealed within 6 to 12 months. So if you have real business expectations and Amazon is a real opportunity and you want it to run for 3 to 5 years or more, then take the 6 to 12 months it takes to really build a significant brand opportunity. It won't let you down. It really won't. And there are plenty of people buying stuff on Amazon, no doubt about it, and plenty of profit to be made too.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of things you can kind of dissect in that. When you have your case studies and people are launching or just starting out on Amazon, first case and foremost, it's no longer passive, right? We both agree on that. It's full-time business. It's investing in putting in the time and resources together so that you can be an efficient business and actually operate it as a full-time job first, but you can also operate it to a point where you can level it up and you don't have to spend 40 hours eventually.
No, you don't. You can spend 10 hours a week, and by my definition, that would be considered passive, right? You can hand it off to a team who will do it for you and spend less time doing that. Time is not the measurement of opportunity. Let's just be very clear, right? Opportunity is seen in how long you can run the business and how profitable it is and how much cash flow it can spit out every month. And that's really what it gets down to. The profit margins of this business can be done very well. We look at 18 to 20% EBITDA, or what's called triple net on the business. And if you're maintaining that, you've got a really good cash flow process, and e-com is fantastic in that way. So we only go after products that are $30, $50 to $300 in retail. That's one of the things we don't do, that is go after the $20 products that you see so many other coaches and gurus talking about in the 80%. I've coached a number of those people out there, and I know they got caught in that. So be careful with what you spend on those products, because there's a lot more money to be made.
So you're going higher end luxury, more products that, obviously it's the higher barrier to entry is much more expansive. Like you're going to have to put down a lot. Like you said, this person put down in your case study $1 million because
to reach that 5 million mark. He did,
right, to reach that 5 million mark. So is that where a lot of people, do you think people are looking at that $25 threshold just because it's easier to get in that way? Like that barrier instantly becomes a little bit lower and people can overachieve step one? Okay.
Well, and because they've been led into it by a lot of coaches and quote unquote gurus. I hate to use that phrase because it's an MMO phrase. I work in the consulting and business management side. At the end of the day, the market opportunity is determined by what the market will bear. And whether or not you believe in your current life that someone would pay $49 for something they might get for $25, you're missing the abundance that is the opportunity, and you're still locked into scarcity a little bit. And there's so much scarcity in this model of business. So let's just overcome that for a second. The truth of the matter is there's just as many people buying $49 products as there are people buying $13 products on Amazon. Okay. There is a little bit more barrier to entry, but it doesn't have to be that way. If you work a process by the numbers to define what a profitable product is, you can launch a smaller product that piggybacks onto another one. And maybe that first one cost you $1,700 to launch, right? And maybe the next one cost you $17,000, and maybe the big one somewhere down the line in 2 or 3 years cost you $170,000, because now you got a real business running and you can afford that capitalization. It isn't really how much you get in the business in terms of it; it's the ROI and how fast you can pull it out. We typically run a product analysis by the numbers that says when a product goes to market, it has 90 days or less to turn that inventory over in our test. And if it does that, that product has huge upside and opportunity. And then the cost is what it is to be in the market. It is the cost of logistics. It is the cost of marketing. It is what it is. We have a 47-column spreadsheet that we ran millions of units through. Okay, it's a business management sheet. It's our hub, if you will. And you may laugh and be like, well, why isn't this a dashboard in a complicated system? It's like, you know what? I was in Sprint at one time, and I used to joke that we could basically take the entire network down by just pulling one cord out of the wall. You would not believe how many of these large corporations are running on spreadsheets and, what seem to be, 6 plug adapters in the wall. And it's like, good grief. So at the end of the day, it's more important for you to understand your customer. If you understand your customer, you will double your revenue. And I think a lot of people don't take the time to understand their customer. And it's one of the things we've done and we train and coach and consult on is we take 80% of the time sharpening the axe so that we make one good swing when the time comes to go. And when we do that diligence, we know our market, we know our 3 to 5 competitors, we know our profitability, we know how we're going to borrow ethically their advertising, steal their customers, and then take them over in 6 to 12 months, and there's nothing they can do about it. And then we have that business running for years. So yes, there's some upside to it. Yes, there's a little more cost to getting involved at this kind of business level, but at the same time, the kind of rewards that people expect don't happen on a $97 investment. And I think there's a lot of, MMO style things going on, make money offers kind of things, instead of how do I make business? And real business is done with some capital investment. And, there's risk in all of that, of course. But once you understand the numbers and once you understand how to choose the products and what the hell to sell, as we like to jokingly call it, once you understand what that person wants and who they are and how you can define them as your customer avatar, you will double your revenue. It's just getting in the market.
So why is it this kind of customer persona, or I should say seller persona? Why is one seller looking at an investment of a dollar amount like $50,000 to run a business appropriately versus $50,000 to just buy something? And they're like, hey, I want to buy like a car for 50 grand, but when it comes to investing $50,000 into a business, they balk at it and they're like, nope, I need it lower. Why is the seller mentality
a monthly payment? And it's the idea that, well, I can afford that much car because I'm paying $435 a month for it for 84 months. But at the end of the day, that's it's a misnomer of an actual liability that says, well, I have that car and it's justified because it gets me to my office job. It gets me to my work, gets me to what I'm doing. At the end of the day, it's that kind of thinking that will ultimately sabotage you from understanding how a real business does work. Yes, we, utilize credit, but credit is applied very differently in a business with a totally different mindset. Debt is a liability when not used against assets. So we will take risk capital initially into the business to determine that a product or a brand is going to go to market. And then we leverage capital against the sales of that product. We don't leverage capital until we launch that product. Once it's launched and it has sales, leveraging capital is just a matter of a tool. You can't go build a house without a hammer, and you can't do it without nails. So at the end of the day, obviously you've got to understand how to build that foundation and where to apply the hammer properly so you don't slam your thumb. And I think a lot of people just go grab a nail and start swinging, grab a hammer and start swinging, but they don't grab both and they don't understand how to apply it correctly.
Talking about quantity over quality, basically.
Quantity over quality. Yeah. And it really is a misunderstanding of what it takes to drive a business forward. And this is not just 2021. This is 10 years, 12, 20 years of experience, business online, making money, watching how money is made. And it has a really different approach to it when you understand when to apply capital versus just taking on risk. And buying a car at $50K is taking on risk. At the end of the day, one of those claims I hear, and maybe where you were headed a little bit, is taking an opportunity is only something that you can do if you're privileged, or only something you can do if you're given help. In the end of the day, that's actually not true, right? It's a bit of a lie that I might attack a little bit in our community and today that has to do with no opportunities, right? And the truth is there is opportunities. I launched my first product on $1,000, right? And I had to borrow it because I was literally coming off the back end of a bankruptcy, as I had already mentioned. And being raw and transparent with you, I like to joke that it's 8 years to an overnight success. Because at the end of the day, I put risk capital in. When those products start selling, I put some more risk. And then when I started to sell, I went and borrowed money from friends, family, and credit cards, and I bought more products. But I was willing to take that risk once I knew that it was working. And any business to start up does require a little bit of risk involved. So don't spend $50,000 on a car. Go buy one for $3K that gets you to your job. Take the other money and invest it in something that in 3 to 5 years will buy you your dream car for cash. And think about it very differently, right? Instead of the short term, think about the long term, right? It does have a lot of opportunity when you do that.
And it seems, Neil, like there's this disconnect with online because it's all happening online. There's no like retail store to purchase. You're not buying physical storefront to put goods in. You're not tangibly handling those transactions on a day-to-day basis.
That's right.
Everything is so it's digitalized in the component of just like credit card, right? If people have trouble with credit card debt, most often than not, there's not that tangible takeaway feeling that they're taking from you. It's almost like I can spend as much as I want, but it doesn't have that. It doesn't release that same, I believe, dopamine in your head that it's saying like, hey, something's taken away from me. I don't want to give you $3, but if it's $3 in my credit card, I don't care. It doesn't matter because you're not tangibly taking something physical away from me.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's why that applies to digital commerce?
Well, yes and no, right? Because one of the things we do make our clients do is get a physical product in their hands as quickly as possible for their samples. Why? Because that brings a tangible connection to the virtual work they're doing on their computer with their spreadsheet. Once they see that product, once they touch it, once they have it in their hand, there's a connection that makes sense all of a sudden. Just to the sample, even if they don't see the other orders or the minimum order quantity, or at some point, they're obviously not going to go touch a 40-foot container. But once they have that initial product and they touch it, they have a connection to it. It kind of fills the 360-degree gap that's in their brain. And you're right, you do need to touch that. But here's the thing: if you want to touch a product that you can sell on Amazon, I would encourage you to just look around. Go into your Amazon order list and see what you've purchased. All right, go back and find that product and touch it. Why? Because it usually is 60% of the sellers on Amazon are third party, or more than 60 now, if I remember correctly.
65, 70. It's
actually quite a bit more. And at the end of the day, you're touching a product that one of my people or us or somebody in a third party seller relationship like us is sold that product to you. It didn't actually come from Amazon directly. You may not even realize that right now on this call. Maybe you do. But at the end of the day, those products are products that you can sell. Those are products that you can move in the market and sell yourself. So if you want something tangible, go touch it tangibly. At the end of the day, it is a great way to connect to the business, but you also need to understand it. This is such an incredible opportunity right now to build e-commerce. In 2020, the first 3 months, first quarter, you can go check this out. It was a research. You can go Google it from I believe it was Bank of America and Forrester Research, if I remember correctly. 10 years of growth in 3 months. 10 years of growth in 3 months in the first quarter of 2020. Guys, we had accounts that were doing around 2,000, 3,000 a day that jumped to 15,000 a day just because we were in the market, right? They predicted that by 2030, even up as far as 2040, 21 trillion in that report is showing that it will move from retail to online. So if you're waiting to get in, you're going to miss a window. And we're in that window. It is not gone yet. It is only tightening a little bit. It is still there in terms of opportunity, but very soon that opportunity will close. And those who don't take the time and interest in getting involved in e-commerce of any kind, whether you choose Amazon or not, if you're looking for a way to build an online business, to build a brand that has intrinsic value so that at some point it's worth more when you sell it than at any time when you're building it, then you really should consider physical products, right? They are assets. You will have inventory. You're putting your money into product. It's not a digital info product, okay? It may have digital listings on Amazon.com for those of you out there punking away buying. Some of you right now probably listening to this. But it does have a physical component to it. And it is asset driven. And should you need to recoup that asset, you can always take it somewhere else and recoup it to get your investment back. So that's one of the things we love about this model is that they are, there's big returns. Maybe we want to talk about that for a second, kind of talk about the last component of the model as you build this whole thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, we call it the platinum principle. It's sort of a play on the golden parachute. That if you build this company and you get to the CEO, you can get a golden parachute in retirement, the company plane and the checks, and you walk out and, your life is all cushy until you die. Well, we thought, okay, we're not going to be doing that. So what do we call ours? We called ours the platinum principle. And that's really the concept that when you build these businesses from the ground up with the right structure in mind, the right framework, an LLC, you put your brands, you get your intellectual property and trademarks in there. These businesses are worth a lot. 2018, the multiple sale of a business on its profit, or otherwise known as its EBITDA, or EBITDA, I guess if you're in Canada, was around 3x, maybe 2.5 to 3x, depending on how fast, how many SKUs you had, and how much volume you were doing in terms of profit. If your profit margins were above 18 to 20%, you were going to see some really great returns. Well, fast forward to 2019, that went up to around 332-ish. Go past 2020, and we're now at 4x. So just in the last 2 years, businesses have almost doubled in their worth. And right now, people are clamoring over each other to acquire e-commerce businesses. I kid you not. There is a massive push, capitalization. We have funds talking to us about raising $100 million to go buy Amazon companies right now, buy branded e-commerce. That's how big this market has suddenly become. What they're predicting is 6 to 7x in the next 2 years. So e-commerce brands are maturing very quickly. Like I mentioned, there's a window. So you build this structure in mind, you take it out for 18 months-ish, and you have more than 12 months of good run rate. You have good profit margins in your business, a great brand, multiple SKUs. It's worth something. So it's not just short-term capital, but it's a long-term opportunity. We've sold multiple businesses. We have one for sale right now in this process. We teach our clients how to do what we do exactly to build a long-term business building and flipping opportunity because e-commerce and brands are worth a lot. So you can pull that cord whenever you want to. Later on. And I recommend you do it on the way up, not on the way down. Not for many of the reasons people try to exit businesses, which are typically negative in their mind. We try to work with people to understand the abundance mindset is, of course, sell it on the way up, sell it when profits are moving upwards, and take those profits, reinvest in a new business brand, and do it again. Because once you build one, I can show you how to build 2 and 3 and turn it into a whole model of sales. And that's what our business builders are doing, is they're really learning how to create that business opportunity, almost like a franchise for Amazon, if you will,
right?
And being able to replicate that process over and over again.
Yeah, reinvesting yourself, number one key to growing, sustaining wealth and generational wealth as well. Not just a one-time flash in the pan to forward your dream car, but something that you can live on and reinvest and become a true entrepreneur. Maybe some of the challenges I'm curious to get your thoughts on.
Sure.
You were talking about launching without reviews.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, how do you do that? Because without these networks of people who are buying a lot, initially gaining reviews, there's that minimum threshold that people feel, like I have to have this many reviews in order to sell a successful product. How is that process? Maybe you can give a peek behind the curtain.
Well, I think it's a little bit of it's a tortoise and the hare kind of thing. Again, we operate on a 90-day or 1 quarter worth of business window. So in that, a product launch within that window should maintain certain metrics in our business to basically prove that product is one we can take out farther in the market. So we don't need it to have a whole bunch of reviews on it when it goes to market in that first week after. We don't need it to push the sales rank so fast that others are trying to manipulate at this moment. The engine itself, again, wants you to dance with it, but it's also proving whether or not it's giving you all the right check marks. And you won't see this in your seller performance account health. It's all stuff that's behind the scenes. And over 8 years, we've kind of identified what other things Amazon's looking for that, of course, they're not telling you about in your account health. And so in very simple terms, when a product goes to market, we don't need it to have a huge push in the first few weeks. In the first 21 days to 60 days, we're looking for the dance that the Amazon engine is basically rewarding us. What will happen is the acceleration and that whole tortoise and the hare thing will be that we will surpass products that may have launched at the same time within 60 to 90 days. They may be ramping down, following a bell curve. They may not be seeing the reward of the system's growth across multiple keyword rankings, and we do. And so we looked within that 90 days to have a minimum of 5 positive reviews on it that are organic in nature. We then obviously ramp PPC against targeted keywords. We don't care that the ACoS stays below 10% in that first 90 days. We are going to buy the market share, and we're going to do whatever it takes to buy that market share. And we're going to go in and own that marketplace, which will take over organic traffic from our competitors. So when we do this type of product market launch, no, we don't need reviews. We need a product that signals to the system as it goes to market that it is better than the other brands currently. And when it starts to see that, again, we watch the dance, we watch the signals. We're not smart enough to tell Amazon what it wants. And that's what all those review groups, buyer groups, and stuff are trying to do. They're trying to manipulate the engine and tell it what it thinks they want it to tell it. Am I say that the right way? They're trying to basically get the engine to believe something it isn't actually going to ever believe about your product. And it starts to throw flags off. And don't think that it's not tracking you on all of that. It's not tracking your velocity. Don't think it's not tracking the amount of reviews you get or who they come from or who the friends are of the friends that gave you reviews. This system has really gotten pretty sophisticated. And if you let it go organically, if you do it white hat, if you let it build is a more of a slow growth over 30, 60, 90 days after you launch it. You will see a much longer term and higher reward coming with that product in months, 4, 5, 6 and up. At which point your products will overtake the market and you will stay there. And the people who try to catch you can't catch you. And the people who are there will be doing all the rebate campaigns, giveaways, buyer networks, trying to slash your reviews and doing all the negative things you hear about Amazon. And they're whining and complaining because someone came in and stole all their market share. And it's the same MO every time we hear it, right?
So you're talking about, so if I heard this correctly, launching, slowly building PPC campaign, targeting main keywords, not doing any sort of giveaways or any sort of like discounts or anything like that. It's just all organic, 100% sales and growth.
Yes.
How are we becoming that visibility? Is it all just simply through PPC?
There's a way that you do the launch process without getting into the details of doing this through all the data points. That again, the engine is a learning engine. All right, it's very sophisticated. Its technical term is the A9 engine. There's an A10 now, as they refer to it, but really people need to know the differences between the two. A9 is the original ranking and algorithmic engine that powers all of Amazon.com. 10 is basically adaptations or new scripts and AI that's running around looking for you jacking with the listing. It's watching reviews, it's watching ranking velocity, it's doing a bunch of other things. That's one of the major updates. Now, the core of the system, it hasn't changed in 8 years. The core of the system that we identified and have been playing with for 8 years is the same one we started with. They have just gotten through more fraudulent AI bots and management bots and other things to try to stop people from jacking with the system. So if you stay within that core engine, it will reward you. It will reward you over time. Play the dance. It takes a little bit longer. People are a little frustrated because, they want to see the results faster, and who doesn't want to get to $1 million a month in the first 3 months, right? You have to be willing to launch more products. You have to be willing to take a little bit more patient turn. You have to be willing to really understand your customer avatar and build a brand. And if you approach it from those points, you will see longevity in this business model. Did I answer your question correctly? I may have got a little off topic.
No, that sounds good. Are you talking about when we're telling people to build a brand? Are you going towards data? Or are you going towards passion? When you're telling your clients data?
Data. Passion is one of those fun things that everybody gets caught up in. They're all emotional, and we call it "don't marry your products," because people get married to their products. They don't want to divorce them, and 3 months later, they're having that knockdown, drag out fight that have to call the police. Because it's like, this is getting terrible, and it's literally people get in love and marry their products, and they're not willing to leave them. And I'm telling you, every product in my book, from selling fuzzy bunny slippers to grandma or selling pots and pans to the 27-year-old female, doesn't matter. What matters is there's a passionate niche for any of those things out there. There's a customer who wants to buy that product and will buy the better version of it when they believe that the brand is attached to them. That's the only emotional connect, not on my end, but on the customer's end. And once I log into that, it's all numbers. On our end of the seller platform, it's all numbers based. It's a cold-hearted number based game.
I was gonna say, and you're probably even telling your clients, don't even tie your face or your name to the brand, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, don't need to. Because there's other brands out there that no one's ever freaking heard of, who are owning spaces in Amazon that you could take on and become the 5th or 6th brand no one's ever heard of, and build a really strong brand that has a lot of upside and has a lot of potential visibility, not only within the platform, but outside the platform later on, should you want to take it into native ads, paid traffic, front-end marketing, out to resale, wholesale, and other places.
What about when you're launching new products with the new inventory restrictions kind of all over the place? Mm-hmm. Is that affecting you guys? This is something that a lot of people and a lot of even big time brands, I've heard it in mastermind calls, they're even saying it's really hard to navigate in terms of how much to plan for, because Amazon can be a management system where I know why Amazon's doing this. They're doing it because they don't want to have long-term inventory just sitting there. They want it to be a high velocity warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
So what
you negotiated, and that's a risk in the business model. And so how you overcome risk, you obviously create solutions. And one of the ways we've done that is through multiple 3PLs that are able to hit certain service level agreements for shipping product in against our IPI. So IPI rules are different for everybody, of course, based on seller time. I mean, once upon a time, we had like 8 billion units of storage space in one of our accounts, right?
That would be nice.
Yep, that was nice. But even then, because of the way they reshifted the account currently against the health and seller performance stats, that's not even capable of being done there. So we just have a very just-in-time organizational plan that we teach how to manage. My partner has previously had a management, logistics, financial background and was very good at inventory management for the real estate market. And he just applied that knowledge into physical products and runs a very tight just-in-time strategy, working with the 3PLs and the service level agreements and the inbound products. And he teaches the people basically how to understand that, so you don't have any problems with it. We don't have stockouts, right? There's ways to avoid the stockout. Like one of the biggest problems you want to have, and that's what the sellers are telling you about, they're trying to face, is a stockout, right? Because people like us will come in and abuse that opportunity in an ethical way, of course, when we see our competitors running out of product. But we have a very strong logistics backend that overcomes that risk. So we will move that product. We will predict certain amounts of product, have it pre-prepped at 3PL and ready to go so that they overlap at Amazon. And of course, like anybody else, we run certain restrictions and certain issues. Now, because of where we sell and where we work to get our clients to as quickly as possible, we have account reps. We have people inside the business that help support us. And are willing to help us a little bit more because we have a much bigger standing. But we're also able to put in a good word for our clients too. That also helps.
So you have that sounds like a great, obviously problem to have where you have a good relationship with both Amazon, but yes. A lot of even logistics people we've had on the show say, don't cheapen out, don't go for the lowest cost out there, the lowest bid. Do somebody who's going to do you service, like you said. You have standards that you have to be met. They
Correct.
have to fulfill them.
You do.
And if you have to pay for that, then
well, and why is everybody complaining about their A costs? Why is everybody complaining about their inventory? Why are they all complaining about Amazon's management fees? It's a very simple answer. They're not playing at the right level of profit. They're trying to take all of that out of a $7 profit margin. And right. What they're left with is 50 cents per unit. And that's why
why are more people not taking that approach than hey, I'm selling something at $10 and it takes $3. You play with the math right from the get-go, and if you're only playing dollar profits at a time, why are people not taking
the thing
that
is
and
people
saying,
are not. People are not. And I buy a lot of the Amazon coaching programs that are out there. And one of the things that is always negligent is to teach people how to become business managers. Business managers of an Amazon business. What does it look like? And I go and ask these folks, and many of the people who come in, I ask them, what's your profit margin? Do you know what your net profit is, net percentage? Do you know what it is after all landed costs? And guess what? Most of them can't answer those questions. Even sellers who've come to us doing over $1 million a year in sales can't answer those questions. So one of the main things we teach is business management as the first step. Business management. How do you actually understand how to make this business profitable? How do you cash flow it? And how do you maintain its growth while paying yourself out profits? And it isn't selling $12 products, and it isn't $7 profit margins. And those people screaming about all those things were led or taught or misled into understanding that the department category opportunities of Amazon is where everybody needs to play in the sub $25 range. And quite honestly, that's only a opportunity if you're willing to offer one of those products as a loss leader to the rest of your brand. And that's a whole different strategy we deploy.
Right. I was going to say, it sounds like if I were me selling online and going through what I heard today, I'm thinking more, I'd rather sell one product than 20 of the same product or a different product to get to that same profit margin level.
Yes, because here's the thing. Project. If you're making $7 in profit after all cost at the end of the day, and you still have to pay for Amazon, marketing, okay, you're going to be screaming about your A cost being too high, right? So you'll shut it off and you'll complain Amazon's not getting you any sales and it doesn't work. You won't have enough profit to do the right level of marketing within the system at the end of the day, and therefore you will scream about the opportunity. So how do you overcome that? No, you sell products that have more profit in them. It's just not more complicated than that. And you have to be willing to invest in that opportunity to ensure that you will see the benefits of that outcome. And once you do, you'll be recognized, but a little bit longer down the road than I think some people are willing to tolerate. And that's, hopefully that's one of the key takeaways here for today. If you're going to build this as a business, go serious with it. Sell products that are great with good profits, and learn how to manage the business. And if you understand that, your mindset will come along for the ride. Because what we're talking about is a very different level of mindset than one that I've seen coached through many of the programs I've reviewed. And that is really and truly how to understand how to make this a real business. You don't just get to 7 and 8 figures because, well, it just magically happens. And it doesn't happen off a couple of SKUs. And when it does, that's a unicorn. Okay. That's a lottery mindset mentality, as I refer to it. It's scratch and sniff. And, can I win my money? If you are desperate for money and you need it in the next 30 days, Amazon selling is not for you. And you can go try side hustle and retail arbitrage and online arbitrage, and you can get some cash flow going, and more power to you, because those do work if you're careful to not get your Amazon account shut down. But again, the real opportunity for business is to start out building it with the end in mind from the very beginning.
It's great stuff as always. And Neil, I would dive into more. Obviously, this is stuff I'm constantly, if you see me looking down, I'm writing notes and everything like that. But if people want to learn more, obviously what Voltage is doing, what's kind of that next 2/3 of the year looking like for you guys, for your team? What are you focused on? And where can we learn more about you guys?
Well, we take about 10 to 15 people per quarter into our consulting. We keep it very tight. I interview everybody. I want to know who they are and what they're doing. I'm looking for the right aptitude and the right mindset of business level to go after this. I can't solve everybody's problems. I don't try. I don't have one of the low-level offers. My costs are a little bit more for the consulting, and the opportunity, of course, is bigger because we do it in what we call a pay-as-you-profit model. We typically work with people for 12 months with the goal of getting them out 18 months to sale and exit of the business, with specific profit margins and growth metrics and other things we want to see them achieve during that 12-month time frame. So we typically give an incentive performance goal, and we ask people to understand how that works and the capital investment and at least the first 90 days worth of consulting and due diligence of setting up the business and finding the products and understanding the market. And we do it all with them. I don't let anybody go to market with a product I wouldn't sell in a brand myself. What I'm doing, and I'll tell you my evil capitalistic goal and agenda here, Ryan, you ready for it? Is to get as many of my business builders to exit their businesses as possible to my investment groups or brokerages, because it's worth money for us and it's a win-win for them. And I can introduce them to the capital to want to buy these businesses when they're framed in the same way. Remember that story from back in 2019 when I was asked to start this up, was because those investment and brokerage companies said, we want you to build these companies so we can buy them. So what I've done is I've gone into a mentorship role, teaching people how to become a CEO of their business. You can go to voltagedm.com to check that out. There's a little video there. It's called our Business Builders Program, and it really is about building business with the end in mind. Our goal is to exit those companies with you and to help you achieve that goal. And we do it on a pay as performance, so we know we can get the results. And again, 10 to 15 people or so at a time. I'm literally down to about 5 slots left because I want to put enough time and energy, and my partner does as well, into the direct relationship we have with these folks to get them to these kind of successes.
That's amazing. Well, and all those links are actually in our show notes below. So go ahead and check out and follow. Obviously, Neil and his team over at Voltage, which obviously changed names. So it's formerly this and all this other stuff. And you have all these other products going on, or projects going on, I should say.
I do. We have a couple.
Yeah, and that's why I'm trying to man, you guys have so much going on, which is a good entrepreneur mindset, I think, is when you can actually juggle and you can kind of be successful in all these different facets, whether it's mentorship, also selling, also, private equity, all this other fun stuff where you're trying to help people to exit their businesses. That's a sign of success. And I know that's where you're trying to help other people accomplish as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Well, thanks for hopping on Crossover Commerce today. If they want to reach out to you, is there a best way to do that as well?
You can hit me up on Facebook. You can email me at neil@voltagedm.com, voltagedm.com. Go to Voltage DM, check out the little training video that's on there for more information about the business builder stuff and what we're doing with consulting and launching, operating, and acquiring these e-commerce brands. If you just look me up on social media or LinkedIn, you'll find me. Small name, big guy, small name. You can't miss me.
Exactly. Well, hey, congrats on the continued success of you and your family, and obviously the growing of e-commerce in Middle America. Keep up the good work. Are you traveling anywhere, obviously, for any events or anything like that this year? Or
I have been asked to speak at an event in October. It looks like we might be in Florida for a digital video event to talk a little bit about specifically how sponsored brands and video is becoming a huge opportunity for brands on Amazon. To really take video to the next level. And there's a conference on video, and we will probably be out there in October. And I might be masterminding with my business builders. As of yesterday, they're like, we want a meeting. So we might be chatting.
Fine. Yeah, exactly.
Not a meeting in Florida.
Hey, that sounds good to me. It was cold here yesterday, so I'm all about going where warm weather is. So, well, thanks so much for hopping on Crossover Commerce again. Why Amazon FBA is still the best way to sell online. Thanks so much, Neil. Again, that was Neil of Voltage. Make sure you go check him out. Again, all the links are in the show notes below. Check out voltagedm.com. Again, make sure you connect with Neil on all the social media platforms, specifically Facebook. Take your business to the next level. Why not? There's so many nuggets that we learned in that space, how to build your brand effectively, be smart about your money, and then maybe even refocus your mindset, if you will. So that being said, this was an awesome episode. It goes so quickly every time we hop in this chair here at Crossover Commerce. Again, thanks for hopping on and listening to episode 103, Why Amazon FBA is Still the Best Way to Sell Online. 2 more live episodes coming this week. Make sure you subscribe to Crossover Commerce through PingPong's YouTube page, or just follow myself, Ryan Cramer, on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm on all the social media platforms. Clubhouse, always good stuff we're sharing there as well. Thanks for listening to Crossover Commerce. We'll catch you on episode 104 tomorrow, Tuesday, with we have Amy Weiss. Actually, I'll go and flash it right there. Why your Amazon listing isn't converting with Amazing at Home. Amy just coming back from her trip in Mexico, but she is ready to start sharing that insight of why your listing isn't converting. So make sure you tune in next time on Crossover Commerce. Take care, everyone.